Hello everyone. Today I've got 3 shorter but horrifyingly amazing books for you to read. I get people who say I don't have time to read a full-length novel and I'm looking for something shorter to read, and these 3 will certainly fit the bill. These are either shorter novel or novella length books, but they have the impact of a full-length novel. They are absolutely fantastic. I loved every single one and I can't wait to share them with you. But as a reminder, I have horror books for sale, and if you want to read any of the books you see on your screen, there is a link in the description where you can do so. And starting next month, be sure to check out my Patreon page. I will be having short horror stories exclusive to Patreon, exclusive videos to Patreon, and also free e-copies of all of my future books for members. There's only one tier, so check out that link and see if it's something you're interested in. And don't forget to pick up your Read More Horror t-shirt. There are many colors and sizes available, and there's a link down below for that as well. All right, let's get started. All right, so the first book I want to talk about today is called Question Not My Salt. If you look at the cover, it kind of looks like a cookbook, and that's very appropriate for the content inside, because if you think of a cooking show combined with a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you're gonna get the idea of what this book is about. This is about a college woman. This is her first year in America. She comes from Canada, and she's going to spend her first American Thanksgiving at her girlfriend's parents' house. She doesn't know anything going in. They just show up for the invitation, and there's a bunch of people, their family and friends of family and other guests that their family and friends have brought. Some of them are first-timers like her, some of them are not. But we're going to find out very quickly that the matriarch, the woman in charge of the house, her girlfriend's mother, is a one-woman show. She does everything. She does not want anybody else in the kitchen messing with her food. She wants to cook it and prepare it herself, and you are going to love it. And early on, we're going to find out how this book gets its title when our protagonist just off the cuff asks for some salt for one of her dishes, and that is a mistake, because you do not question mother's salt or seasoning. And things are going to escalate from there, and we're going to find out that they have some very weird, bloody, horrifying rituals that they perform every Thanksgiving, unbeknownst to all the first-timers there. Even the people who have been there before, they didn't say anything to anybody, because this is a yearly ritual, and there is just going to some of these things are absolutely insanely disturbing and creepy, but nobody is allowed to leave once they are inside that house, and that's the important thing. And as things escalate, there are just going to be these scenes of horror and the scenes of bloodshed, and it's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse for our protagonist, and she has to find out if there's a way to get out of this house and get out of this situation, because yeah, nobody is safe inside. This is a very, very good book. I was mesmerized by this book because it was so well written, and I love that whole concept of taking a Thanksgiving tradition and turning it into something so bloody and so horrific, and so some of the rituals they have are like just very even the ones that are not bloody, they're very gross and very disturbing and very strange. But of course, she's from Canada, and so she's not really sure if some of these are just weird family traditions, you know, at first. But then as things escalate, of course, she's going to find out that she is just trapped in that house. There's nothing she can do, and her life is definitely in danger. I highly recommend this book. It's fantastic. It's brutal. I absolutely loved it, and there's a link down below where you can pick up your copy in the description. And next we have Mouth. Now, this one is great. I just finished this one last night as I'm making this video, and I decided to include it in this video because it is so fantastic. I think it's only 151 pages, so it's a novella, and it's a monster story, but this monster is simply a mouth in the ground in a forest behind somebody's house. And a man takes over the house, and you'll read about that at the beginning, how this all transpired. But he was basically given this house, a truck, a bank account, with only one real instruction: you have to feed mouth. That's the name the former resident gave to this monster in the woods, mouth. And it's appropriate because it's just a mouth in the ground. But mouth is actually sentient. He can't speak, even though he has a mouth, but he can eat, and that's the important thing. And his main diet consists of like mice that you can get from the pet store if you have a pet snake or something. So when this new guy goes and he starts picking up all these packages and packages of mice, the female clerk there gets kind of suspicious, because even the biggest snake does not need that many mice. And so she decides to follow him back to his house, find out exactly what weird thing is going on there, because she's kind of that way. And when she gets there and she sees Mouth, well, these two are going to kind of form a bond, kind of form a connection. Rusty, the man in charge of the house, he's an older guy. He's like 50 something. And he's been a loner most of his life. She's younger. She's vivacious. She's always talking. Her mouth's going a mile a minute. She's really into horror movies. I mean, really, really into horror movies. And they have these back and forths where he just wants her to shut up because he doesn't understand the references she's saying, because he's been out of the loop for so long. But they make a great pair eventually. However, the one caveat to feeding Mouth is that once a week it needs a special treat, and that special treat is a human being. And the man that previously owned Mouth, he has been feeding this special treat to this hole in the ground that's a mouth for many, many years. And now it's up to Rusty and Abigail, the girl, to continue that tradition, even though neither of them are really murderers. But the thing about this book is that Mouth is not really the bad guy or the bad thing in this book. Like I said, he is sentient. There was a couple chapters in there where we actually kind of hear from him. We kind of see his point of view. He can only communicate by rumbling the ground and making it shake certain ways to communicate happiness or anger or hunger or something like that, but he tries. And believe it or not, despite that, the fact that this book might sound like a cheesy B movie kind of thing, and it does have that element which I really enjoy, by the way, but it's also oddly heartwarming at the end, because this is about how people can change, because Rusty and Abigail both have things in their past that they have been running away from, horrible things that have happened. And they believe that Mouth, this hole in the ground that's a mouth, can do the same, that he can change and just live on what they can find him, like with the mice and the wild animals around there, and not necessarily having to kill a human being. And it gets very touching near the end. And I absolutely loved it. This is a fantastic novella. It's weird, it's out there, but it flows along, and there's a secret room in the basement of this house that they discover, and that's going to contain the secret to how Mouth kind of got where he is right now. And it's just great. I absolutely loved it. I highly recommend it. And again, there's a link down below where you can pick up your copy, and you absolutely should. And next we have This Is Where We Talk Things Out. If you have your ear to the horror world, you've probably heard other booktubers and other book bloggers talking about this horror novella, and it's worthy of all the praise it's been getting. This is an exceptionally horrifying, creepy story about an estranged mother and daughter who haven't spoken to each other in years, but the mother talks the daughter into going with her, just the two of them, to the secluded cabin in the middle of a snowstorm, of course, so they might not be able to leave. But the mother says she wants to spend a weekend with her daughter and maybe kind of reconcile, kind of put their differences aside. And the daughter reluctantly, very reluctantly, goes with her. And they don't even make the trip there before we start seeing splinters and breaks in their relationship, and what kind of over-domineering woman the mother is. And her, she's very opinionated, and she's very domineering, and she's not afraid of twisting around the words of the daughter to force a guilt trip on her, one of those kind of situations. But once they get to the cabin, and they do get snowed in, that's where the true horror lies, because mother is not right in the head. There's something wrong with the woman, and we're seeing it played out in subtle ways at first, but pretty soon it becomes very, very obvious that she has ulterior motives for her daughter. She has lost touch with reality, and is very doubtful if her daughter is going to be able to leave that cabin, at least in the same way she went into the cabin. And it just becomes very creepy. This is very much focused on the relationship that was already damaged from a long time ago, and their attempt at reconciliation. But come to find out, man, her mother is just much, much worse than even what she remembers when she was kind of right in the head. And now it's completely off the chart. And once things start happening, it becomes brutal and horrifying, and you're going to be on the edge of your seat while you're reading. Trust me on that. This is a fantastic book. I absolutely loved it. 100% recommend it. And again, you can pick up your copy at the link in the description. And I want to say thank you for taking some of your time and spending it here with me. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.